Alright, in this video we are going to see how to create this counter using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. In case if you got stuck somewhere during the tutorial, I have left the source code in the description. You can just copy paste it and start along with me. Now the concept is very small, and I have made this tutorial in such a way that I have given 50% for CSS, 50% for JavaScript. So the time is divided into 50% CSS and 50% JavaScript. So this is going to be the complete HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Alright, now let me just show you what the HTML is. Now if you see, we have a main container inside the body. This container has two childrens. Both of them are though both of them are same. You can see the class box has h1 and h5. Now let me link the style sheet. I have linked the style sheet. Don't forget to link the script file as well, script.js. We are in the same folder now. That's why I have just give the relative path. Now I have added the font awesome. I have added the font called Poppins. Now for all the element I have added the font Poppins. Now let me just design the body. I want whatever is there inside the body to be at the center. So display flex, align item center, justify content center. Now this won't work unless you give height 100% of viewport height. Viewport is nothing but the browser. Now we have container. We can give the width to the container, let's say 800 pixel, and background as something similar to gray, and whatever is there inside the body I want to be as row. So now you can see it is one below the other. I want side by side, so in that case we'll use the same display flex. Now you'll see align item center, justify content center. Now it will be at the center of the screen. We don't need that, so get the justify and make space around or space between. Space around works fine. Space evenly. Now if you want, you can change the color to slightly this one, and we can give the height of 400 pixel. It's up to you. 300 pixel. Now h1, along with the h1, if you see, I have given the attribute data value. I'll be accessing the data value with the JavaScript, so we don't need that as of now for CSS. Now if you want to change the color of the background of the body, background color hash DB, which is slightly grayish. Don't forget to give hash, it's an hex code or else it won't work. Cool. Now you can choose the color, select the container, you can give this as ever you want. So let's just focus on the h1, the h6. We have h1 and h5. We can give font size so that we can differentiate between the two headings. 4, and the bottom one, sorry, the h5 one should be the half of its value. Now we have box. The container has two children, as we already know. Box, we can give the background color red, which is too big if we know, which is too bright. We can reduce the saturation. Now we can have padding on all sides, 1 rem, 2 rem, top bottom left right 3 rem. Cool. Now I believe we don't need this. If you want, you can specify them differently by calling the nth child 2, and you can change the color. Let this the saturation be, let's just change the color to yellow. The same way, instead of direct red, we can make this greenish. Cool. Now if you want, we can add a font awesome as well. Font awesome. We can get this in W3 school, the CDN. We have to link the CDN on the head tag of HTML. Just call this. We can have any icon. Let me just choose very simple icon so that we don't have to style very much. Subscriber, and then what else? The shield. Now this would work because we have CDN linked on the head tag. Cool. Now if you want, you can give the width and height same. Instead of giving padding, we can give width of 300 pixel, height of 300 pixel. We can simply make this 400 by 400. The same way, give this to the box 1. Now whatever is there inside, I want to give it the center, so display flex, align item center, justify content center. So this is for the box. So I don't want this to be side by side, I want one below the other. In that case, we can add the property called flex direction column. Now you get one below the other. We can play with the font weight as well. Now let me choose the font weight of 700. Now you can just copy this and paste it. You will see the weight 400 and 700, and for the H1 you can have the font weight of 700. Now you will see the font is 700, the other one is, let me just make this 300. You can call this 300, and for all element let the font weight be 300, or in another way we can give directly to the H5. Cool. Now if you see, the box container has width 800 pixel, so 400, that's why there is no space. If you make this 300 by 300, then we will have some space around 300. Cool. The same way, we can have one more box. Let me just copy this and paste it one more time. Now in this case, the main container should have width of 1200, and the last box, we can name this as, we can call it with the pseudo selector. We will change the color so that we can identify differently. Cool. We can pick another font. Let me just take this FA Angelist. Cool. Just refresh this. Now you've got 3 different boxes. Let's make the other box as 10,000 watch hours, just 100 watch hours. Cool. If you think there is too much gap, then what we can do is we can reduce the width of the main container to 1100, or just simply 1000. I think the style part is done. Now let's focus on the JavaScript. If you want, you can give box shadow, x-axis, y-axis, spread, and the color black. We can lighten the color. and x-axis 0, y-axis 10. Can change this to somewhat grayish. Cool. Now we know all the h1 has the, we can call all the h1 using the query selector all option. We'll pass the h1 and all h1s. This is a variable which hold all the h1s, so we can access one by one using the for each function. It will accept the, we can access one by one h1 using this parameter one by one. So if I console.log and show you, it will display one by one h1 on the console. Now if I refresh, you can see we got one by one. We are able to access one by one. Now what we need to do is, once we get all the HTML, we need to access the data value attribute. So we can access this by get attribute. So the attribute here is data hyphen value. Now if you refresh, you will get two values, 10,000. This is 10,000. Now you will get the 1000, 10,000, 100. Now we need to start somewhere. So the start point is going to be 0. It should start from 0, and we'll call the set interval function, and it is going to run every 500 millisecond. Console.log. So now let me just take this out and show you. So if I call set interval function every 500 millisecond, you will be calling hello 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 hello. Now the same way for each h1, I want to run a set interval function. It should start from 0, and as it progresses, counter value, it should start counter as it progress every 500 millisecond. I want it to get incremented. Now let me just console.log and show the counter value. I'm pasting this outside of the for each loop, because if I run inside the for each loop, what will happen is for each h1, the set interval run will increment the counter value. So I don't want that. So just for your understanding, I'm taking this out. So now if you see, every 500 millisecond, the counter value will get incremented to 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see it's getting incremented. So that means it's working as we needed. Now once it is incremented, I want the h1 to have the value. So the h1, we can access one by one h1 using this, and we can modify the text content attribute, and we can pass the counter. Now if I refresh it, you can see, if you want this to be a little fast, you can make this 50 millisecond. Now when it should stop? It should stop if, so to stop the set interval, we have to save this to a variable, set interval function. So this, we can stop the set interval by passing the variable to the clear interval function. So this is JavaScript predefined function. If you want to stop the set interval, we have to store this into a variable, and this variable we need to pass inside the clear interval function. Now if the counter value and the value which we got using the data attribute are same, then stop the function. Refresh it. It's not stopping because it should stop at 100, but it's not doing it. Let me see why. Let's try saving this to a variable. final value. Yes, it got by 99. Now let me just make this even faster. So one should stop at 1000 and the other should stop at, let me see, one should start at 1000, the other should stop at 10,000. So just to make this short, let me just make this 50, 40 and 30. 30, 40 and 50. Refresh this. Only one is working as we thought, the other two is not working. One more thing we missed is, this is a string, we need to parse it to a number. So parse int the solution was very simple. We need to initialize with let. Now if I refresh, you'll see 30, 40 and 50 it stops. Now if you want to change the speed of the counter, what you can do is you can have the variable as 4000 millisecond, which is 4 second, and then we can initialize the variable again and call it as duration. We need to multiply with the final value. We need to divide the interval with the final value, and it will be in decimal, so we want it to be in a numeric value. So math.floor will do the work, and we need to pass the duration over here. Now if I refresh, everyone ends at the same time. So previously, if I refresh it, all of them stops at when they want to stop. Now if I calculate it with the total number of interval and I create a duration variable and then I refresh it, you'll see all the h1 will stop at the same time. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for listening.